Starting.
All right, we're freaking always does that. Oh, hey, I got a thing on my phone. It says Diary of a Trans Woman is going live. Days I'm gonna remember to put my silent beforehand.
Right on.
All right, we are published. And we're gonna start 3, 2. Diary of a Trans Woman is brought to you by all of the fine folks over at patreon.com. If you want to learn more about supporting this show and becoming a part of this amazing community, head on over to patreon.com/diary of a trans woman. Buddy. That's a weird way to show. Hi, everyone. We're back. This is Diary of a Trans Woman, episode 80. EJ, we made it to 80.
Big 80.
We're double over the hill. We're over the second hump.
We're so far over the hill that we're digging into the grave.
Hopefully not. I don't know. This show hopefully will go on for long times. Anyways, yeah. EJ, my BFF in CHI is on the show here. EJ, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm not exactly in CHI, but
oh no, that's right. My BFF in NYC.
Yeah, I'm in New York for the Lesbians Who Tech conference.
Wait, that's actually what you're there for?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
You never told me it was called Lesbians in Tech.
Lesbians Who Tech.
Lesbians Who Tech.
Because tech is a word now.
Sorry. And how is teching with lesbians?
They're very enthusiastic, and there's a lot of cisgender individuals. I've spotted a few transgender individuals around, which is promising. Tomorrow, actually, there's going to be a trans and non-binary meetup that's hosted by it's going to be organized by some senior VP from Spotify who's also trans. So
nice.
That's going to be cool. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much, it was very high energy, a lot of very excitable lesbians. Kind of not how you envision them. So I don't know. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, so far has the it's essentially a con, right?
It's a tech conference. I mean, it's not like there are people cosplaying as Martine Burka or
whatever. Is it pretty trans inclusive, or is it pretty cis centered?
It seems like it's trans inclusive, but they said they have a code of conduct that they put out there, and they say that 50% of the presenters have to be people of color and 15% have to be trans or gender nonconforming, which seems like a pretty decent ratio, all things considered.
Yeah.
It's above percentages.
Yeah, I would love to see more than 15%, but I can freely admit that is a bias coming out. I think 15% is.
We had a entirely trans tech conference, but I think the 15% is, I mean, how many percent of us are actually representative,
Yeah, true. I don't know. I've noticed that I have issues over the past at least 2 years with looking at other people and thinking how are you 100% cisgender? How is that even a thing? How are you 100% straight? That's not even a little bit, really?
No, I mean, there's I think Josh Hutcherson, the guy from the Hunger Games movies, he said something a few years ago where he's just well, I mean, as far as I know, right now I'm straight, but who knows what's going to happen in the future? I mean, maybe I'll be into a guy. Maybe something will change. I don't know. And I'm just like, yeah, right on, Josh Hutcherson. I mean, that's how it is over a long enough timeline. Maybe everyone's trans. I mean, if we all live for 10,000 years, maybe everybody will just like, man, this birth gender is some bullshit. I mean, maybe we're just early adopters, you know?
Yeah. What if everyone else is just a late bloomer? What
Right.
if everyone else is like genderly challenged?
Right. It's probably how it is.
Probably how it is.
That's the null hypothesis, man. You gotta challenge that null hypothesis.
We're the next step in the evolution of humankind.
Yeah, we're better. We're
We're like the X trans. I just realized how like the X-Men. I don't know why that never clicked in my head. Why has there never been X-women?
well, they'd be AFAB, right?
True.
I mean, aren't we technically X-Men?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of walked right into that one.
Audience, don't call us that.
Yeah, please don't ever. If there are any cis out there listening, don't call us men.
Never say that. That joke's for us. It's not for you.
Yes. Oh, so how long does the lesbians who tech? How long is that going on for?
Tonight was the kickoff event, and then they have all sorts of events, all sorts of like sessions and stuff on Friday and Saturday.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'm hanging out on Sunday, doing some New Yorky stuff, and flying back on Monday. It'll be good. They have speed mentoring, which I guess is just like you get into a room and you get like paired up with like I signed up to be a mentor because I've been in tech for 13 years now. And I'll go in there and chat with people who are newer to it. I always say that the best way, like people like there are women who ask me is like, oh, how did you get into tech? And I just like the best way to do it is to present as male for the first 25 years of your life, and take advantage of every privilege that offers you, and then get some really good job security and then transition. It's just like, oh, am I not helpful? Just be very afraid for a very long time, and meanwhile advance your career, and then switch over.
Yep. Build up your career while burying yourself deeper and deeper in the closet, and then just burst forth once you
work for you, sis.
Well, that's cool. Also something that just started, or I don't know, when it's starting, but the Trans Health Conference is out in Philadelphia right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I got a bunch of people in the medical community that I know of going out there, and apparently like a bunch of just random trans friends who like I haven't talked to in years from back in college, and like I've met at conventions and whatnot, are all going to this. I guess it sounds like it's drawing a crowd like a Comic-Con or a Dragon Con. I doubt there's going to be cosplays or anything like that, but it sounds like you get such a varied crowd. Really wish I could have gone, but apparently the con is 11 days.
It's the 16th annual.
Oh boy.
We've been doing it.
I wonder if they're going to be talking about the Estrone stuff there. I've actually been popping around on OkCupid a little bit, getting myself back out there again.
Bono.
I wound up chatting with somebody who works as a medical assistant for a doctor in East Lansing, or not East Lansing, just Lansing, who works with trans people. And we were talking, they knew who Dr. Powers was, but did not know anything about the Estrone thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he hasn't published it yet, or if not talking, or what, but I don't know. That's kind of become one of my like goals as far as my activism goes, is to get the medical community to start testing for these things.
Mm-hmm.
and doing that. So I wonder if this is going to be something that kind of starts getting talked about or whispered about back and forth a little bit. I would
Yeah, I
love
was
to.
at my doctor's the other day, and I was like getting my blood work done. I was just like, yeah, I mean, just check, see my hormones. I got this really annoying friend who keeps on talking about estrone, so maybe check that too.
What did your doctor say?
I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, cool. Have you ever had it tested before?
I don't think so. I mean, I didn't know it was a thing till you started yapping about it.
I didn't know it was a thing either. I don't know. I've kind of like I've put that up on a huge pedestal. I realize like that is I have made that a huge thing. And I don't know, like I have no medical background whatsoever, but I do my damnedest to try and understand everything that goes into it as far as like the hormones and receptors and how they all work. And as much as somebody who has no medical background can understand it, I try and wrap my head around it because I hear so many horror stories about just endocrinologists and doctors who do not take care of their trans patients. And that kind of stuff can, I mean, you can make a trans person shut up by giving them 2 milligrams of estradiol and 50 of Spiro and sending them on their merry way, but it's not going to do anything. It's a short-term fix to a long-term problem, and I think that is a cheap way out that a lot of doctors are taking.
For sure.
I've heard of doctors who, I have friends whose doctors won't test for testosterone because they say it doesn't matter, and I also have heard of somebody who doesn't actually test anything. They don't test hormone levels. They just basically base it on visual stuff because you're just trying to look like a woman. You're just trying to pass. And so I don't know. I don't know what her criteria is as far as like changing medication, but oh, I shudder to think of the shit that could happen because of that. Somebody spends 10 years going on that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's nice to have that data to back it up to be at least, and it's like, oh yeah, it's probably going the right way, and to kind of know, at least know what's going on in your body.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, as far as the estrone thing, though, there's not a ton of data on it yet. I would love to see more data. I would love to see it get fleshed out more. We need to actually have Powers back on at some point and talk to him about that, I think.
Hey, tangential note, Abby, have you ever heard of Martine Rothblatt?
Um, I've had a martini before.
Close, but not exactly. I was
Well,
reading this really awkward profile on her from a couple years ago, that I think was in like New York Magazine or something like that. She's trans. She's apparently the like the highest paid female executive in America, I think.
female executive or trans female executive?
Executive.
Huh.
Yeah, the highest compensated. She was the founder of SiriusXM. Um, and then like a few years like I think in the mid 90s, she left SiriusXM because her daughter had a like a pulmonary hypertension, I
Hmm.
believe it was. And so she literally started a pharmaceutical company to try to extend her daughter's life. It's been a successful, profitable, helpful pharmaceutical company, and like the treatment for this did not exist.
I
Um,
think those two words are profitable and helpful. I mean, we can have a
well,
conversation
so
about
at the time, the only treatment was like to be hooked up to a machine 24
it.
hours a day. And they have been developing a pill which I think got FDA approval. So her daughter, who was like given a short amount of time to live, is now in her 30s and is like working for her at this company.
Nice.
It
And
was a
that's
like interesting profile. Like it went some really weird places. She's like a transhumanist, and I guess she started her own trans religion, which was very weird. And the part that frustrated me the most is that like the profile was written by a cis woman, and so early on in the article,
oh no.
they have the most awkward description that, like, you know how people complain about, when like male writers will write about some starlet and it's just like, oh, it's so objectifying, etc. And it's just like male gaze. I'm just like, well, this is like the worst example of the cis gaze, I guess.
You're going robot a little bit.
Well, anyhow, you got me.
Back, yeah. What does a trans religion look like?
I'll have to pull that back up in a second, but I just wanted to read this sentence from the article.
Yeah.
In person, Martine is magnificent, like a tall, lanky teenage boy with breasts.
That's a weird. That makes me feel not fun inside.
No, it's fucking weird.
The frickin' cis.
Like, what even?
The damn cis. That is the worst.
It's just like, who?
That's about as stupid sounding as chicks with dicks.
Right. A teenage boy with breasts. It's like,
yeah.
And how is that like? How does that connect with in person? She is magnificent.
Yeah, that's not magnificent sounding. That's
right. That's like it's like she's magnificent.
Validating.
Really insulting description.
Yeah.
Yeah, he and her wife founded what they call a trans religion. And where is it? A trans devoted to respect without sacrificing unity.
You went very, very robot. I think I want to actually go back and cut that out because it sounded amazing.
Really? Cool. It said they founded what they call a trans religion called Terasem, devoted to respecting diversity without sacrificing unity. Let's say Judaism is the prototype and the template of transhumanism. Because when people kept taking everyone Jews, they could avoid them knowledge in their heads. Humans are free spirits. We're happier when we can express whatever's in our souls. And it's just like getting to a place where it's just like, where it doesn't matter if you're trans, it's just like getting to a place where everybody can just express themselves freely, whatever that gender identity may be. So it's very, very trans.
I'm down. That's
so she's a very peculiar person. There's a very interesting profile.
I like peculiar people. Weird people are fun.
She built a robot AI of her wife.
Wait. The robot AI of her wife?
Yeah, she built like an actual robot version of her wife and like has been programming an AI into it.
But is her wife still alive?
Yes.
Is her wife terminally ill?
I don't think so.
Is it just...
I guess she's just getting an early start.
I've been doing the same thing too. I've actually been parsing through every week. I go through the episodes and I'm picking out different things on your speech patterns and whatnot. I'm creating a EJ who can I can have on the show, and the AI will just make sassy remarks and make fun of me all the time.
And here I thought you were just gonna single white female me.
No, I'm not gonna copy you. Oh, I am kind of single white femaling you because you are at a tech conference because you are a software developer.
Sure am.
And I am also hoping to be a software developer. I did a thing.
You did a thing?
I
Tell
did.
us more, Abby.
I will. I will. Um, so I wound up going out. It was one of the times where I was out in Chicago, and I kind of got wind of kind of what you did with your software developer job, and just seeing the opportunities that might bring me as far as like a work schedule or as far as income or that kind of thing, and it's definitely as far as advancement, career advancement, and how it is applicable in job and go anywhere with it. What I'm doing right now with my life is, boy, I can work in a call center in Detroit, or I can go and work in a call center. I don't even where is another one. I can talk to people and get yelled at and deal with dumb people all the time if I wanted to. And I don't want to make a career out of this. And so I wound up coming back, and while I am at work, I started to kind of dink around online and figure out boy, I haven't said dink around for a long time.
You dink.
Um I'm gonna go dink around. That's a thing, right? That's a thing people used to say.
Yeah, sure. That was in the cultural lexicon.
Okay. I feel like I
It's what
remember hearing that a
you do,
lot as like a
Rooney.
little kid. Abby's just dinking around over there. Yeah, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing they say
Yeah,
in
dinking around.
our society.
Completely innocent, completely outdated, but completely innocent, definitely.
Sure.
Anyway, anyways, I started messing around online, going to like Khan Academy and Code Academy, and just kind of farting around new names for it, new things to say. Farting around with teaching myself some coding, and I've monkeyed with some HTML, some CSS, Java, and about a month later, an email goes out to everyone in the company. They say,
What?
"Hey, we got a thing," and these kind of emails come out all the time. They're like, "Hey, we're hiring a title agent. We're hiring a personal assistant. We're hiring a this or that. Click here if you're interested." Um, and something came out and it was like, "Hey, software developer," and I was like,
Oh,
oh, hi, hello there."
hello.
And I click on it and I look, and the company is offering an 8-week training course, 8-week paid training course to learn how to be a software developer. And then at the end of that training course, if you make it through, you become a software developer. And so it's pretty much exactly what I needed. Some good formal training that gets me prepared. Because I mean, yeah, I can go into a job interview and be like, yeah, I went through all 347 exercises on Khan Academy, and that doesn't really do much for me. But having some good formal education on the matter is going to go a long ways. And so I applied, and I got my team leader to endorse me because he knew I was looking for this. And I got through the phone interview. And this morning I had the in-person interview. And tomorrow I find out if I got the job or not. EJ, I really want this job.
No.
I am
I want
so,
this for you, Abby.
huh?
I want this for you.
I know.
I believe in you.
It's great. I believe in me too, but anxiety is a bitch. And so yeah, that's always fun. I'm sitting there checking my email every chance I can get. I'm looking at my phone constantly, and I'm overthinking. Sitting there with my interviewer, like, yeah, we're having a great conversation and talking back and forth about stuff, and I felt like it went really well. And then as soon as I stepped out of that room, I was like, just oh shit. Did that go as well as I thought it did? Did I say the wrong thing? Could I have said this? Did I forget to say that? I think I said this at some point. And just anxiety has been buzzing in my head all day.
I mean, job interviews are stressful, and I think interviewers at some level know that that's nerve wracking.
I hope so.
Like my current job where I get paid a lot of money, it's a really like well-regarded company and it's a place that a lot of people want to work. And when I interviewed there, I thought the interview went terrible. And, I went in there and like there was just a bunch of they had like every time I would interview, there would be like three or four people across the table from me.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know how to interact with them. I was just like I felt kind of very awkward, stilton, like I couldn't get kind of a flow going. It felt very like off-putting. Um, like I was screwing it up, and it's like, oh no, they really liked you, and it's like, oh good, because I think like they kind of account for that anxiety.
I hope so. And especially because this is not a job where I am going to be paid based on how well I talk to people. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is going to be the first time that I get a job where I don't have to like deal with customers or clients. Freaking 4 years of delivery driving in college and like 9 months of being a barista at Starbucks and then a year of working in a call center. I am so excited to stop talking to people.
it's
I
gonna
just, I, say what?
it's gonna be good. I mean, software development is really good for if you want people to leave you alone.
Yeah. Working with a team is definitely something that I'm assuming is going to happen, but
But like in my job, sometimes it's like I need heads down time today. I need to just focus and just work
yep.
on this, not be interrupted, because that's important. I mean, it's important to be able to just like sit down and focus on what you're working on until you can figure it out.
Yeah. And it seems like a position where you are in charge of your own success.
Wait, me?
Yeah. Well, it seems like what I'm looking at, like my commission check every month is based on how many people that I can transfer to a licensed specialist. And I'm not doing cold calls. These are people who put information online asking for calls, whether they were smart enough to realize that putting all their information on the website would do that. Um,
You've got a silver tongue.
I do. That's that's one of my favorite nicknames I've ever had.
We
The
all listen to your silver tongue every week. Your silky vocal cords. The way you weave a word.
weave a word. Um,
Make paragraphs your bitch. It's your banter, your repartee, your repertoire.
repertoire. I even forgot what I was gonna say. I forgot what I was talking about. No, yeah, my success at my job is based on how many people I talk to. And sometimes a lot of people pick up the phone. Sometimes not a lot of people pick up the phone. And so there's a lot of things that are outside of my control. I can control two things. It's like how many hours I work and how hard I work during those hours, how many calls I make during the day, and how I talk to people, I guess. But there's a lot of things that, I mean, if somebody isn't on the other end of the line to pick up a transfer when I have somebody on the phone, then that takes longer than expected, and that's a great way to lose out. When people just aren't answering the phone or whatever, there's a lot of things that are outside of my control, and I think that one of the things that I'm looking forward to is saying, all right, I am at point A. I need to get to point B. Here's some tools, make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's a problem solving career. I mean, it's one where you get to flex a different set of muscles, and yeah, I mean, getting to avoid having to interact with people is nice.
yeah. And don't get me wrong, I love working as part of my team, and there are certainly times when I like interacting with people, but there are definitely times when I just want to go into a dark room and just be by myself and get my own work done. So hopefully that works out. I really hope so. Um,
Me
we'll
too.
we'll let you know what happens. Um, and by saying that I don't like talking to people, anybody out there, I love doing this. I'm never quitting doing this, talking on podcasts. I can do this. because I get to talk about whatever I want. And
Yeah.
that's, yeah, I don't get to do that a lot. So, um,
Deal with
so yeah,
consequences.
what else is on life? What'd you say?
What's up?
What did you say?
That you gotta deal with my tranny ass.
Yeah, yeah, I'm trying. So other than that, I mean, do you have anything else going on in your life?
I don't know. It's all been building up to getting out to this techno lesbian shit. So
You know,
I mean, I had a cool experience this morning at the TSA going through it where like
oh
I have
yeah,
wrap dress on and like it went through and I mean it highlighted my dick and it's just like that whole area and
you know,
oh it's probably just the tie in front of your dress. It's probably just the knot. And it was just like in my head I'm just like no it was my dick.
yeah,
I didn't even bother. I didn't even bother, you know, hiding it. And she's like, you mind if I pat you down? It's like, yeah, go for it. It's just
yeah.
like
Just fucking get it over with.
yeah, pretty much. And then yeah, it was a nut. It was a real
Sorry, what?
it was a real tough flight. Like so while we were flying there, a guy across the aisle from me started having a seizure.
Oh
Um
no.
yeah, started doing it. And it's like I don't know what's going on. And they, you know, asked for if there was a doctor, and thankfully there was a doctor on board, came back and, you know, kind of took care of him. They, you know, did their medical and I'm sitting there. It's like, oh my God, this is happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, they're just like, okay, well, they need to get him to lie down. And it's a full flight, more or less. And they were gonna like carry him to the galley and they go over the intercom and they're like, are there a couple of gentlemen who can come back here and carry it back? And I just like, I'm right there, and I'm just like, I'm ready to stand up and like spite help, be like, gentlemen, my ass. And,
Yeah.
you know, unfortunately, they figured I was just like, oh, well, we can just move these two people who are in his row, and he can lie down, and so they figured it out, and they,
Yeah.
you know, the EMTs met us at the gate, so I think he'll be okay. But it was a real,
Good.
real unusual thing.
Seizures are scary. I've been next to actually saw my mom have one growing up. That was really crazy. Not fun. Very, very scary. Not good at all. I bought plane tickets this week. I am going to be in New York City, Brooklyn specifically, on
Single white female.
oh yeah, you're funny. Um, I had this plan way before I knew you were going to New York.
Did you?
Um, yes, I did actually. The 13th through the 16th of October is when I'm going to be in New York City. Anybody who's out there who wants to get together, get a drink, a show, shoot me a tweet or a message on Facebook. I would love to do a meetup there. I know we did one of these a little while ago in Salt Lake City, and I got to meet some awesome people. If you're out in the East and especially in New York City and you want to come out, have a good time, let's grab dinner sometime. Actually going to be going to an event. Marie McGuire, who has been on the show a couple times, is doing an event out there at a library, Genderful, exploring gender through art, and it is for youth, and looks like it is very like a great opportunity to kind of see what's going on in the world of education with youth, because I don't work with kids very often, so it'll be fun. I will definitely be how that goes. EJ, you about ready to jump in the news?
Let's jump into news, babe.
While I find the jumping intro. All right, EJ, you want to take your story?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna talk about South Park. I don't know if you'll caught this today. An article came out talking about the upcoming South Park video game. It's called South Park: The Fractured Butthole. Get it? Get it? It's got kind of a superhero theme to it. Um, and the headline was that like, oh, in the new South Park game, depending on what skin color you choose for the character, the darker the character's skin color is, the harder the game will be. And it says like, don't worry, this doesn't affect combat, just everything else in your life. So it's like their commentary on. So that was like kind of, it's like, damn, South Park, you're coming late. But then like very deeper, it's just like they say you have the option to be a transgender character. And I'm like, oh, what? And so I looked it up, and during the course, so after you've created your character, you go through and like you have to meet with Mr. Mackey, the guidance counselor, and he goes through and asks you if you're a boy or a girl or other. We
Say that again. You cut out for a second.
Mr. Mackey asks you if you are a boy, a girl, or other.
Ooh.
Give you all three options. And I was just watching a Let's Play, so it was just like they only went through one path of it. But the character in the game is the same character from the previous South Park game, The Stick of Truth, who was portrayed as male. And so if you say that you're a girl, he calls up the character's parents and is just like, oh yeah, well, we all thought that she was a boy, but okay, makes sense, tracks, makes sense. And then, well, so they here I queued up the sequence here. I'm gonna play what happens next.
Now, someone like your classmate, baby, well, she's what we would call a cisgendered girl, okay? Meaning she was born a girl. But there's also people in this world who identify as something different from what they were born with, okay? And we call those people transgender. So, do you identify as being cisgendered or transgender?
I'm not sure.
So right now, on the screen, there's a slider that says either cisgender or transgender. You can pick from between the two. And this is a Let's Play, so there's two people sitting here trying to figure out which to choose.
Okay, well, I mean,
they chose
I
trans.
thought that I didn't know you were in the middle of a, Can you hang on a minute? I need to call your parents.
Oh God.
Hello, this is Mr. Mackey, the school counselor again. Yes, hi. Yes, I know she's a girl, but, well, she just let me know that she's a transgender girl? Yes. Well, no, it doesn't matter. No, of course not. It's just that, no, you're right. Yes, of course, it still tracks with the Stick of Truth. Yes, it does. She was definitely a girl the whole time. Yes, of course, I get it. Okay, well, thanks for your time again. Okay, bye-bye. Okay.
So there's that, and then right after that, your character leaves the building, and a pickup truck full of rednecks come up, and this is the interaction they have.
Well, if it ain't a transgendered girl,
we don't take kindly to your types around here.
Let's welcome Miss Thing to our town.
Miss Thing. That's right.
I think we should probably beat up the rednecks now.
So
just like I did Dale that one night in '94. If you actually read the
so
Constitution,
you get into this fight with the rednecks. After you win the fight, I'm skipping forward a little bit here.
You do win the fight?
Yeah, in the example, this is actually a battle in the game.
Okay.
And battle.
Because I watched a little bit of that Let's Play, enough to see the gender selection sequence, but I didn't see the truck full of rednecks.
So right after that, I'm getting right to the end here.
Yep.
little further.
High quality audio podcast here.
Yeah, here we go.
This is award-winning podcasting right here.
Riggs is my favorite.
Listen to this part.
Weird.
Next. Be more accepting of other people. Hate Forge. Oh, yeah.
Wait, do it wrong. Is it before it? I think it's a little before that.
Smooth.
Sorry. I was going to here.
You're happy, gender
I still think
terrorist.
Craig's is my favorite.
Hope you're happy, gender terrorists.
That's awesome. That's great. I know. I'm surprised to hear that because I mean South Park has been. Mackey was one of the more offensive depictions of trans people back in the early 2000s.
Mr. Garrison, that was the other one.
That was what?
That one was Mr. Garrison with the offensive portrayal. A slightly different. Two different characters.
Well, same series. I never watched South Park that religiously at all. So,
roughly, here's how the portrayal of trans character, transgender identity in South Park tracks. They had this episode called "Eek a Penis," which was just was a really crass and insulting look at sex change surgeries, and they kind of took it to this ridiculous extreme where one of the characters had surgery to become a dolphin, and it was just a real bullshit episode.
not
A real bullshit episode. And then a few years later, they did another episode, and they did something where they kind of took on bathroom laws, and they kind of went to this kind of bare minimum of allyship, where I think the concept was that Cartman finds out that the girl's bathroom is better, so he identifies as transgender so he can get in. Then they change, and they open up a gender neutral bathroom, and they go through the whole same debate, and there's the moral they end is you shouldn't give a shit who's going to the bathroom next to you. It doesn't matter. So they kind of got to this this real basic level, which was fine. They've had a character. They've had Caitlyn Jenner as a character on the show recently. She is portrayed currently as the Vice President of the United States, next to their Trump analog. And she just she has kind of a messed up, disfigured face from different surgery, and just is just very portrayed as just a real asshole Trump apologist, and whenever going somewhere she hits people with her car.
But it was very much not a poor depiction of trans people, but it was meant to be a poor depiction of Caitlyn Jenner herself.
First time they had it on there, the plot of the episode was that one of the characters on the show got in trouble because they refused to refer to her as a brave hero. It's just and the kind of moral of that episode is just Caitlyn Jenner can be a shitty garbage person, and we can still hate her, even though she's trans, which I think is something that a lot of I think it's important.
Trans, and that's completely valid.
Yes, it's just she is a human, just like anybody else. I think that it kind of made it a little bit normal. If there's a trans person out there who we can just really hate for just being a total garbage person, I don't know. It feels like a stride in some ways. It feels it's just
in order to be real, you have to have good and bad.
Yeah, it's we don't have to desperately protect our own or apologize for her. We just say it's no, she's a garbage person, and had her deal.
I can't imagine what that's like though, and maybe this is me playing devil's advocate or something. I don't even know, but to be one of the few trans people who has very, very outlying views when compared to the vast consensus of the majority. I don't know what that must be like.
I mean, I think it kind of, I think because I mean we're allowed to hate her, but also it's just like it identifies us as people outside the movement. You know, I mean, right now people like you and me, and like we're very, you know, pro trans rights and liberal, etc. like that. I mean, it really it can be conflated with, you know, I think a lot of the last year, I mean, that's when you talk about identity politics, and it's just like, oh, well, this is just, you know, some liberal shit, you know, that like it's just like kind of it's like, oh, this is something only liberals care about. And when we're divided up, that makes it very easy to hate us.
Mhm.
But then when we have someone like Caitlyn Jenner, someone like She Who Must Not Be Named, who's you know, has very bad opinions, and you know, is very Republican, like has some very like strong ones. I think it kind of like, I don't know, to some extent, like removes that division of I don't know. I think it kind of, at least I hope that it helps to remove the idea that we are a purely political entity. And
Yeah.
recognize us a little more.
Oh, that's cool. I'm pleasantly surprised by South Park doing this. I would love to see this become a track record for them instead of a bit of an outlier as far as acceptance goes. I would
Yeah.
also love.
Every time
sorry?
it seems like every time they address the issue, they stride a
Get a
little
little
bit.
bit better.
Like they've always been a little bit behind the curve, and now they're kind of catching up. So
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's the case for a lot of people out there. Just, I mean, I would love to see more people be able to find that balance, because you don't want to be the person that like jumps out in the middle of the street and goes, "Hey, look at me, look at me, look at me! I'm friendly to trans people. I'm friendly to trans people." Just begging for that ally title. That is not endearing whatsoever. However, on the other hand, it is nice to have a more obvious depiction of support, an obvious show of validation for that. So
nice to have it something
I
like.
don't
I mean, I think it's real important to note that they make you choose between cisgender and transgender. So even the people who are, you know, kind of, I mean, South Park, you know, for, you know, all it's been, has always had some questionable politics. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
they kind of lead pretty hard libertarian. They're very idiosyncratic. So I mean, some of the stuff
And I
they
think that's one of the reasons why they've lasted so long, is they have such a vast library of content that appeals to so many different aspects of humanity.
But there's been like books that have come out, like called South Park Republicans. There's been some articles that have come up recently, kind of saying it's just like, well, South Park has kind of spent, you know, 20 years saying it's just like, nothing matters. Let's make fun of everything, and that is kind of the same mindset that the alt right has. So I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, yeah, and even I don't know.
people
Like I remember when the World of Warcraft episode came out, I was a big part of the WoW community, and even hardcore World of Warcraft gamers like thought like, yeah, this is actually like a really good episode. So
I mean,
they have a
lot of things. Like I think there was one about the Tourette's syndrome and the national like Tourette's Foundation or whatever they're called, the association, like kind of ahead of the episode when they heard about that, it's just like, we're sure this is going to be offensive. And like after the episode came up, they put out a statement that says like, that was a lot more nuanced than we thought it would be. It's just like, we still don't appreciate that it focused on the swearing part, but they provided more information than we thought it would, and we hope that this, you know, helps people learn more about it. So I mean,
yeah.
they have a mixed track record. They've done good things. They've done kind of toned things. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say toned down. Kind of like, I don't know, just crappy things. And this is kind of a step forward. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, I want to be aware that they've had mixed politics and a mixed effect on, you know, their audience and the way they behave. On the other hand, I'm just really thrilled that there's a place where we're added to the cultural conversation as something other than a punchline. Really
yeah,
cool.
definitely.
It's really cool the way they approach that, and it's really like I've never seen a video game where you can play as a trans girl and beat the shit out of some transphobic rednecks. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Let's
I kind
go ahead.
wonder what happens like if you choose another gender. If you like, what
Yeah.
happens if you decide to be a cis boy or something? I don't know.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I wonder if you go down those paths, if it becomes obvious, like, I mean, people don't have to think about the fact that they're straight, white, or cisgendered, but like, what if they throw in there like, oh yeah, now like you do realize that like you're cisgender now. You have a bunch of privileges. Good job. Congratulations. Move on with the game. Skip this level.
Yeah.
And just kind of making it obvious that you're getting a break.
Right.
I don't know. Let's go ahead and move on. One of the things that EJ talked about last week was Groovy Girls. One of the, if not the oldest and most successful transgender porn site, formerly known as Shemale Yum, changed their name to Groovy Girls and is getting rid of terms like tranny and shemale completely. This was huge, and I absolutely loved hearing this. For anyone who does not know, I am fairly sex positive. I was a BDSM educator down in Ohio for 5 years or so before moving up here. Still part of that community. Actually went down to an event for the first time in a while last weekend. And so I definitely enjoy hearing things about the sex industry and the adult entertainment industry as far as being accepting towards trans people goes. So hearing that that site changed their name to Groovy Girls was amazing for me. I love hearing that. You hear things that we talked about how X Hamster came out and offered to host and help create season 3 of Sense8, and how that was problematic. And some people were pointing out like, no, you still use all of these very offensive terms, and I don't think that it would not be a good idea to go here because you are not ready for it yet. And so that was something that had attention drawn to it, which I think was good. But now with that name change coming out, I think that was great. Stumbled across another article this week, and this is from The Verge, and it was this trans porn site wants to show you real sex and not shemale stereotypes. Shemale in quotations.
From The Verge or Vice?
Huh?
From The Verge or Vice?
Vice. Did I say Verge?
You did.
Oh, well, I meant Vice. Sorry.
Just making sure.
Sorry. Anyways, starting a quote, according to Montreal-based model and entrepreneur Luna Lovelace, mainstream pornography only thinks that there is one kind of trans woman, a chick with large breasts and a big dick. Disenchanted with the one-dimensional portrayal, Lovelace decided to create her own production company. It's the first site, tsnaturals.xxx. It features trans women and non-binary people who have not undergone major surgery, a requirement implemented to counter what Lovelace says are unrealistic standards propagated by most trans porn offerings. The point is not to condemn surgery, she explains, but rather to normalize a wider range of natural transgender and non-binary bodies, promote positive body image, and fight against the industry's fetishization of trans women and non-binary people. The site also gives complete creative freedom to its models. Everything so basically the models have complete freedom. This is a real long article, and so I don't want to, there was something I wanted to read on here that I saw in it, but I can't actually find where it says that specifically. The thing that it was basically alluded to is this whole idea of the aggressor the trans woman who goes into a woman's bathroom in order to attack women is very much propagated by this overly sexualized and overly aggressive trans woman that you see in the majority of trans porn. And that is, say what?
I found the quote. This is from the trans porn performer Jessica Thappett. Said, what I think is really dangerous about the way we are portrayed in porn is that it makes us look like sexual aggressors, which is the whole thing where bathroom bans come from, where people say, oh, they are sexual aggressors, they are deviant, and they want to fuck people. The truth is the vast majority of us don't. I don't want to fuck anybody. I'm a bottom. I want to date big, strong men that tell me I'm a pretty girl and then bend me over a sofa and give it to me. I don't want to go into a bathroom and creep on women at all.
Yeah. And I think... I've for a long time said that. Even when I was doing guest lectures in college classes, where I would talk about my experiences, I would talk about how growing up, before I read the coming out story in Rolling Stone of Laura Jane Grace, the only exposure I had to trans people was through porn. The only time that I ever had an opportunity to learn what trans was if I saw it in a porn. And it is very true that the trans women depicted in pornography are very, very far from what anybody is in real life. I mean, porn is obviously very fake, and people gobble it up. I mean, I think the difference between porn and sex, you can definitely see a difference between actual sex and porn most of the time. However, with something as taboo as trans people, you really only have one exposure to that, and that is through porn. Sex ed isn't going to talk about gender identities that differ from cis identities. And so that's where a lot of the culture gets its biases from. That's where a lot of the stereotypes come from. Hell, that's where most of the offensive terms that are used for us come from. And so I, for a long time, have wished that I could be... I've toyed with the idea of being a part of this movement to move culture away from an over fetishization of trans people. I would love to be a part of that movement. Now, I'm not sure what capacity I would like to be in. I don't know if I'd want to do porn or not, or if I could just... I don't know. But I think that it's a very important movement. And I think just like getting people out there to start testing for certain hormones and estrone and having doctors treat their trans patients right, that's something I'm very passionate about. Changing the adult industry and its depictions of trans people is another thing I'm very, very passionate about. And so I've checked out this site, and admittedly, I have not paid to subscribe to the site. Right now, I can't afford it. Otherwise, I probably would. It does... The site looks very less independent, or it looks very, very independent when compared to other sites out there, which is refreshing. But yeah, the preview images and the preview videos that you can see over there really these are real people having real sex, and it is not fake, it is not phony, and I very much enjoy it. And I'm seriously considering throwing my hat into the ring and sending them a message to see what kind of a role I can play if they would have me. I don't know if that's something that's going to happen or not, but it's something that I'm considering. I don't know. What do you think, EJ?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's so important. It really is, because, I mean, one of the things, like the conversation that happens, after every time a trans woman of color gets murdered is that it's just like, well, it's really important that you disclose before you go in there, because it's kind of your fault if it came in there. It's just like, no one... And what it is it's not... That's not what happens. What happens is that the popularity of female porn or whatever, like, because it's so popular, there's a lot of people who are into it, but they are
We've talked about it, but yeah.
about it. They do not, and that's the kind of thing where they ejaculate and they immediately get boner's remorse, and that's when the murder happens. So, the destigmatization of trans identities is so important. It's one of the biggest things I can think of that any one entity can do to save trans lives. Period. I mean, there's so much that's wrapped up in the culture, and it's going to be these little small changes and things like that, and trying to kind of fight against all the microaggressions. But this is what I think is like making these kinds of changes are the things that will move the needle the most, because people who kill trans women are also the people who are watching trans porn and objectifying them, and just feeling
well. And also, I mean, you have a lot of people out there who refuse to call themselves anything but straight and get by on that by being into trans porn, by being in the closet, and that perpetuates a lot of stereotypes and a lot of misconceptions. However, I mean, as a trans person coming to terms with her identity and trying to figure out what the hell she was doing, I found myself turning to, whatever resource I could get to get the most intimate look at what trans people today look like. And I mean, it's been nice. There's been a bit of a boom, I guess you might say, as far as trans visibility goes. And so there were a few options for me to look into as far as finding support and finding inspiration. But I'm trying to think, like, I could probably name just as many trans porn stars as I can trans activists. Because that's the thing.
So in the 25 years of my life, I didn't know a single trans person.
And a lot of people don't.
So I mean, my options were, you could find the porn. I was never a big pornography consumer in my formative years, but I mean, a lot of the references, like bad jokes in movies and Jerry Springer episodes and shit like that.
Yeah, Jerry Springer was, all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
and also,
I want people to have a place where they can turn to and say, hey, like, what are trans people like? Oh, this is what a trans person looks like. This is porn. It's definitely sexualized, very much so, but it's definitely more of an accurate portrayal than anything else out there that you might see. So
I don't think we should understate the scarcity of pornography for trans people to consume.
You don't understate the what?
The scarcity of pornography for trans people to consume.
Okay, yeah.
So little made for us, and I think
you're chopping in and out. It was hard to understand what you were saying. Sorry.
Yeah, there's so little that's made for us.
Yes. I want to see something where I can watch it and I don't want to have to try and search through different video clips or different galleries where I have to pick out, like, okay, I do not want a trans person doming a cis guy.
Right.
That's not, like, I don't want to see a trans woman topping a cis guy. I don't want to see this overly aggressive. I want to see people having sex. I want to see a man and a woman having sex together, and that woman just happens to be trans.
I mean, I think it will overall as a population, it will improve our sex lives, improve our self-image. It will make us healthier individuals, mentally speaking.
Yeah.
Be represented.
I think, yeah, I don't know. We'll keep people cued in on how that goes and what develops with that. If anything does happen, I don't plan on hiding it from the show, really. But yeah, we'll see how things play out. I think that just about does it, though. It's time to wrap up because every third word that EJ says is getting blocked out because of New York City internet. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, diaryofatranswoman@gmail.com is where you're going to want to go to send those. Tell me your thoughts on the sex industry and trans people in the sex industry. I would love to talk more about that.
Yeah.
If you want to find the show on Twitter, we are at Trans Diary Show. I am at Abby Geek.
And I am at SheMX500.
Oh, that went through just fine. Yeah. We're also on Facebook and all over the place. So check us out. Shoot us messages. Be friendly. Have fun. If you want to help out the show, wherever you get this show, any 5-star reviews on iTunes or Stitcher, that kind of stuff will go a long ways towards helping the show. If you really want to have a great time with us, and join us in the Slack channel and have an awesome, good old time, patreon.com/diary of a trans woman is where you're going to want to go for that. Every dollar helps. And no matter what you throw in there, you'll get an invite into the awesome Slack channel. So
but if you go a little bit more.
Oh yeah. If you throw more in there, you can get other stuff. EJ, guess what I did?
What'd you do? What is it?
I ordered stickers.
Oh man.
The stickers are on their way. Not a ton of them, but I ordered them. And so we're going to have actual vinyl stickers that you can use, like bumper stickers and shit like that. So
what I did.
Huh?
Guess what I did?
What'd you do?
I recorded a song, and it is a exclusive reward for Patreon backers on our Listen to EJ Sing level.
Yes, because EJ does songs, and we have decided that we're not really sure what level it's going to be at, but as soon as the Patreon hits a certain level, we're going to be releasing a CD of transgender parody songs. So check that out. They're awesome. I think that just about does it, though. Yeah. That just about does it. I need to bring up the outro music. There we go. Everybody out there, go have a great night. Take care and have fun. My mouse won't work. All right.